Hi, folks, students of MTGO Academy. This is your Pauper Professor, Jason Moore, and I'd like to welcome you to the latest installment of. So, today we're going to be playing Mono Blue Tron, and we're going to be playing this in the Pauper two-man queues. This is a deck that I saw someone talk about in a thread on Reddit, and the thread was, I believe, just titled Mono Blue Tron. Can't tell you who started the thread, but basically they were playing a list very similar to this, and it did not include the Peregrine Drake combo, although it did include Ghostly Flicker and Mnemonic Wall. Now, why do I want to test this deck out? Well, Mono Blue Tron is something I've tried actually quite a few years ago at this point. Wasn't successful at the time, but I thought it would be a good this would be a good opportunity to try and revisit the strategy. Pauper right now is in an interesting place, and I think because of the prevalence of Peregrine Drake combo decks, it's a pretty good idea to try and play a very degenerate deck. And what I mean by degenerate is something that has a way of being really unfair, stealing games, doing something kind of busted, and trying to get some free wins here and there. So if you're playing the Tron lands, Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower, you're basically on the right track. You're giving yourself the opportunity to do something fairly degenerate. Getting a turn 3 Tron assembled means you've got access to 7 mana on turn 3, and that can be enough to beat people just by itself. Well, I mean, obviously you need some spells to cast along with it, but you get what I'm saying here. So we're trying out this Mono Blue Tron deck, and guys, I hope you can keep it a secret. This is basically just a control deck. This is just a Mono Blue control deck that's playing Tron, but we're gonna call it Mono Blue Tron and act like it's its own thing, but that really is what's going on with the deck. The strategy, as with most control decks, is to survive stage 1, to make it through the early game. If people are attacking you, you want to be able to defend against that. If they're doing something proactive, you're going to want to have some reactionary measures, some countermeasures that can at least make it so you don't fall too far behind. In stage 2, we want to start building advantages. This means we want to tap into some card advantage. We want to draw extra cards. We want to have library manipulation to set up the top of our library and try and accelerate us into our end game with some sort of resource advantage. In stage 3, we're going to assemble an end game that's going to help us win the duel. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that with Tron. Obviously, having Tron assembled, playing buyback spells like Capsize is a good way to do that. Playing giant Eldrazi creatures like Ulamog's Crusher is a good way to do that. Or setting up an infinite combination with Mnemonic Wall and Ghostly Flicker is another great way to do that. So that's what this deck's seeking to do. And we're going to look at every stage and the tools that help us dominate in that stage individually here. Just to start with the mana base, whenever you're playing Tron, you're just got to be aware of the fact that you're adding to your mana 12 lands that produce only colorless. So you want to be able to make up for that in adequate ways. And with Mono Blue, that means we get to play a lot of untapped blue sources in the form of islands. I believe we have 10 here. That's 4. I believe that's 8. I believe that's 10. Yeah. And then we also have these 4 Expedition Map and 4 Prophetic Prism, which can act as pseudo blue sources as well. So that gets us up to about 18, though I wouldn't consider the 4 maps as 4 blue sources exactly. Most of the time you want to get maps, you want to use maps to get Urza pieces or the Singleton Haunted Fengraph. But that's basically what our mana base looks like. It's very straightforward. We've got the 10 islands, the 12 Tron lands, 1 Fengraph I felt was all I could really fit in there to have adequate blue at the same time. 4 prisms, which on top of fixing our mana, they let us do something cool with Ghostly Flicker, and then out of our sideboard we can be a little bit more flexible, and we can dip into other colors if we want to, and you'll see when we get to the sideboard what we're doing. And then the 4 maps, which I just mentioned. The maps just add consistency to the deck. They really make for a good turn 1 play if you've got 2 of the Urza pieces in hand, so you're setting yourself up for turn 3 Tron, obviously. Alright, so stage 1. What are we doing in stage 1? Well, we're playing crappy creature removal to begin with. Mono blue is not the best creature removal color. In fact, it's probably the worst creature removal color, just underneath green. So what does that mean? 1 mana creature removal. It's very important for any control deck that wants to actually survive an aggressive onslaught in Pauper. So we're playing Sensory Deprivation. This is a card that's very rare. Well, it's a common, but I think you get my drift. It's very obscure, I would say. It's from Innistrad. Innistrad brought us a bunch of great removal spells all at once. Victim of Night, Dead Weight among those. But Sensory Deprivation, probably a lesser known one. I'm actually gotta say, I think this is a pretty adequate removal spell in blue. Very limited testing with the deck, but so far it's working just fine here. So we're doing a split. A lot of this stuff is just to test cards out. So you'll see a lot of weird splits, maybe some weird card inclusions, 2 Sensory Deprivation and 2 Piracy Charm. Now Piracy Charm, a lot more flexible than Sensory Deprivation, although it does not quote-unquote kill as many creatures as Sensory Deprivation does. Now, of course, deprivation does not literally kill the creature, but effectively it kind of does. Now, okay, basically using either the discard mode on this, or we're using the kill an X one. What else can we do in the early game? Well, we can cast Preordain, but we can do that in any stage of the game and be very happy. Preordain, one of the absolute best spells in this format, and don't you ever forget it. We've also got Curse of Chains here and Narcolepsy as part of our creature removal package, and these are effectively the same card, though Curse of Chains gets around protection from monocolored, which is Guardian of the Guild Pact, and Narcolepsy gets around protection from white, which is, I think, pretty much only Order of the Ebon Hand, and then maybe, I think the card is called Wildfire Emissary if someone chooses to play that. The early blockers we have are limited to Seagate Oracle, but instead of just looking purely at early game and late game, let's go ahead and just break things down into removal, card draw, and permission. So the other removal we have is Serrated Arrows. Again, in mono blue, your options are pretty limited, so you want to bring in some artifact help. One of the great things about Serrated Arrows is that we can also bounce it with Ghostly Flicker. It's got a lot of great applications. Gets around protection creatures. It gets around temporary pump effects like a Tog's activated ability, or any type of groundswell or giant growth effect, because that counter is just going to stay on the creature. It's going to sit there and linger until the creature eventually withers and dies. Okay, so let's go straight into permission. Singleton Condescend. This is a card that a lot of Tron decks and Tron players really like to lean on heavily. They'll play 3, maybe even 4 copies sometimes. I think there's a significant enough number of downsides with Condescend that I really don't want multiples gumming up my hand. At worst, I'll have 1 dead copy, and it can be dead because the opponent has a ton of mana in play, or they're playing cheap spells, or we don't have a lot of mana to just leave up and try and own them. Obviously, if we've got Tron assembled, we can probably Condescend most things, but that makes it a bit of a win more card at times, not all the time. It's very hard to look at this card in black and white terms. It's a lot of shades of gray. So sometimes it's pretty good for us. It's a versatile counterspell, but sometimes it's going to be very bad for us too. So for now, I'm just playing 1 copy, and I think for me personally that is the correct number. And then I've also got 2 copies of Negate alongside 2 copies of Prohibit. And I'm happy with these so far, but testing in the future will determine further how appropriate they are and how appropriate they feel. What I think is the takeaway mostly is that all of these only cost a single blue. I'm not playing very many double blue spells in the deck. In fact, I'm only playing one, which is Capsize, and I'll just talk about Capsize now. It's our late game sort of trump that can do some things. It can disrupt the opponent's mana base, can bounce threats from their board repeatedly, can bounce our own value permanents back to our hand so we can replay them, can save creatures from removal if we have to. But if you're spending 6 mana to do that, you're probably in a pretty good position to begin with. Moving on to the card draw, I've already mentioned Preordain and Prism. Seagate Oracle has proven to be a pretty sturdy ground-based defender, and like most of the stuff in the deck, works well with Ghostly Flicker and Mnemonic Wall, who's also a blocker, also counts as card draw technically. Most of the time you're going to get another counterspell with this, if not the Ghostly Flicker, to just loop it infinite times. You can also pick up Preordains or Piracy Charms. Muldrifter, one of the best creatures in the format. Not much more I can say about the deck, about the card, except that when you have Ghostly Flicker, it only improves the value of Muldrifter. Being able to evoke it, draw 2 cards, Ghostly Flicker it for 3 more mana before it dies, draw 2 more cards, is very powerful, and it feels really good. Ulamog's Crusher, Annihilator 2. This is a mirror breaker. If you can get it early enough, it can really help you beat other Tron decks. And this is just one of those degenerate things that the deck can do. Play an early Ulamog's Crusher. There's a fair amount of opposing strategies that cannot answer this card. So for those matchups, this can be a really nice thing to have, especially because we're in mono blue. So there's not going to be a lot we can do to end the game very quickly without access to other colors. So Crusher fills that void nicely, and I like having just the one in the main deck for now. Let's move on to the sideboard here. I'll just adjust the display box, and we'll talk about a few things. Now, I mentioned that we can dip into other colors with the sideboard and our access to Prophetic Prism. I don't want to go too crazy with it, just a light splash. Here we're playing Leave No Trace. This is anti-hexproof technology. It's very good in that role, and can kill 3+ enchantments all at once. I mean, sometimes you can damn near wipe their whole board and end the game for 2 mana. So something that high impact is worth splashing for, especially when, historically I don't think a mono blue deck that's slow like this is going to have a lot of ways to interact with hexproof, which is a fairly popular deck right now. When you're in blue, playing Hydroblast can't hurt. There's so many things that this can fight against, including a Tog, Nivik Cyclops, anything Burn plays, anything Goblins or Red Deck Wins plays, and there's even more applications than that. I just don't have a lot of time here to think about them and go through them all. We've got a little sprinkling of extra creature removal, a 3rd Sensory Deprivation, a 2nd Curse of Chains. We have Spreading Seas, which comes in against Tron and Burn and Hexproof, and a few other decks too. But you'll see some of the applications of this card. We bring it in quite a bit in the matches, so I won't get too much into it. You'll notice we've got a lot of Graveyard Hate. Just wanted to try out different things, Relic of Progenitus and Fairy Macabre, which I think will work, if I can get it on the screen here, will work as a fairly effective, uncounterable means of disrupting the opposing Peregrine Drake combos by killing the Ghostly Flickers and what have you. Last card to talk about, Fade Away. Yeah, probably haven't seen this in a while. Pops up in sideboards here and there. It's a very hit or miss card from my limited experience with it. Sometimes you absolutely decimate them. Sometimes you can't do anything with it. But I do want to test this out for a decent amount of time. This is a pseudo sweeper, as you can see. The more creatures they put on the board, the more effective it can become. Not will become. It's very situational. How much mana can they leave open? How many creatures can they throw away without losing their important elements of their board? So it's kind of like a blasphemous act in that way. The more creatures that get onto the board, the more effective it can be. Maybe even like a chain reaction if you guys are familiar with either of those cards. So definitely want to try this out as a way to shore up those swarm strategy matchups. I think I've covered everything in the sideboard and in the main deck. For the most part, this is a pretty straightforward kind of strategy. The novelty here is that it's mono blue, so that you kind of need to be a little more creative in how you close out the games. Though I guess Ghostly Flicker is not the most creative thing you can be doing right now. I think this strategy does have some legs because it's got mana consistency over some of the other decks. You'll see, maybe we do play against other versions of Tron, and I think the mana consistency of what we're doing might shine through there. I don't want to get too spoilery. Anyway, guys, enjoy the battles. We're getting right to them, and thank you very much for tuning in. Hi folks, we've got some two-man queues going on here in Pauper, and we are playing Mono Blue Tron. We're on the draw. We're going to keep this hand. It's a great hand. We have a turn 3 Tron available to us if we want it, and our opponent's mulliganing, so our chances are getting better. Let's see if he keeps on 6 or not. Yeah, he kept and bottomed it. And he's an aggressive deck by the looks. We actually find an island, which is pretty good for us too. So let's go ahead and play a Tron piece and play Expedition Map. And then next turn we can decide if he's burn, we might need to leave up Negate. And if he is burn, I think it might be a troublesome match for us here. Though getting to turn 3 Tron should be pretty good for us. He's probably just going to bolt us there. No. And now... Ooh, he's red deck wins. We actually draw Sensory Deprivation off the top. He's only going to be able to attack us if he finds a haste creature, but it might be worth it just to play the Sensory Deprivation, slow him down a little bit. We know that next turn we're basically doing Seagate Oracle. It really depends if we want to try and assemble Tron, but I think for now actually our strongest play is probably just to fire off Sensory Deprivation and pass the turn. And then next turn Seagate Oracle propels us even further if we want it. I'm not seeing Negate being all that necessary to leave up, so especially when we're at 20. Red deck wins. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I think they can get underneath us pretty well. Well, that would have been a reason to leave up Negate, but I think it's... In the dark, I think it's smarter to do what we did. So, yeah, this turn I'm just going to play the second Tron piece and play Seagate, and then next turn we will assemble Tron, get the Prophetic Prism down, and do some other stuff. So between these two, we already have 2 Prophetic Prisms, so I'll just take the land. We don't have access to lands aside from 2-mana Expedition Map, so I'll just get another blue source. Alright, so now he's just being a jerk and burning us. Yeah, so what I'll do here is I'll map for tower, I'll play Prophetic Prism, and I'll leave up Negate. I could just play both Prisms and Preordain. That actually might be better. You know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and find something that can end the game or start getting offensive like a Mole Drifter. I don't think we want a third Preordain. Haunted Fengraf would be good, but we have a bunch of lands, as you see, so I'm just going to Prism. I'm not going to attack him. And we are in a good spot. Now he's found his land, but we have the Narcolepsy for his next guy. And we can obviously block this. So that's cool. There's a Piracy Charm. I'm not sure what that does for me. Since we have all this blue, I'm going to start off with Preordain and try and figure some stuff out. Condescend looks great. I think we want both of these cards. Top. And we could Narcolepsy the Cohort. I don't think he's going to have a considerably bigger creature, and if he does, we can Condescend it. So I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to hold Piracy Charm. He might be playing Shred Freak or something that I can kill with the Piracy Charm. So, okay, 3 mana. Another Cohort. I think we can let that resolve since nothing else can really hurt us. And this is a bolt to the face, so I'll just use my negate. We know we want the Mole Drifter on top, so condescending is not that great, especially because we probably want to save the condescend for a creature. So let's just cast this, and we can still condescend for a considerable amount. He's almost down to one card to the point that we can potentially Piracy Charm. So yeah, we have the leeway here. We can preordain for like the third or fourth time, and I'll take the counter spell. And I guess I'll leave up 6 mana, and I'll just pass. So this is going very well for us. And he's very spell dense, and it doesn't seem to matter. So Valley Dasher is hasty. Yeah, I guess we'll just counter this. And hope that... Yeah, that seems fine. The reason I'm countering it is it lets me leave up... It lets me keep my Mole Drifter alive so I can start attacking him. To the face. Yeah, I guess that's fine. And then now I'm going to let the mana go, but then I'm going to Piracy Charm his last card away. It doesn't seem like it's a land, so... Could be a Fire Blast, which he might be forced to use. But this seems like a decent use of... And I also could have waited till I untapped in case it was a Fire Blast, and it was. I would have been able to condescend. So now I just attack in the air and pass. We found another Prohibit, which is sick. Basically can't get anything going. Okay, and he actually just concedes the game. Okay, so we basically know what we're dealing with here. And I'm liking our chances. Crusher seems a bit late game oriented, and the main thing here is going to be surviving the early game. I think Condescend might also be a real tricky card to employ because they have a lot of cheap mana spells, and if he gets the right draw where he gets just enough lands in time, it could just be sitting dead in our hand, not really doing anything. Ghostly Flicker is also very late game oriented, as is Mnemonic Wall. So those are some cards I'm considering cutting. The negates are a little suspect because we don't really want to leave up 2 mana to counter a burn spell that he might not even have in his hand. So we actually have a lot we can bring in for this matchup just out of some strange fluke. 3 Hydroblasts, the 3rd Sensory Deprivation. We have Curse of Chains. We also have Fade Away, which I definitely want to try out a little bit more. So this will be one of the matches where we try it. I think I might actually cut Prohibits for that. So we have 2 copies of Fade Away if he floods the board a little too much. Spreading Seas is an interesting consideration. He doesn't have a lot of double red cards though, so I don't think it'll be that good. It might be better as a proactive spell, cantrip, disruption piece than any of these more reactive counters though. Prohibit seems fine. It's when in doubt, I would rather take one of these cheaper spells than go back up to Flicker or Wall or Condescend. We might even cut Capsize, to be honest. I think we can basically make him tap out with Mole Drifters and Seagate Oracles on our side. So that leaves us with 2 Prohibits on the draw or 2 Spreading Seas. I'm actually going to try out the Spreading Seas just to see how that goes. And we are pretty much squared away here. I don't see anything else that looks too poor. So cut all our late game, add a bunch of early game, cut all of our permission basically, and leave in all of our removal and board control. And this hand looks superb, so let's go ahead and keep. And he's going to lead off with a Isamaru. And our choices here are just to leave up Hydroblast or kill this right away. And I think we have enough removal in hand that we can afford to kill this right away. It's also very good for us that we found 2 of our Tron pieces already, 2 of our 3. So the way this curves out, I think oh man, look at this. I think we're just set. So I guess I'll just throw Curse of Chains on his creature. Everything in his deck is red, so this has a little more flexibility for us. Wow, this is going well. He's also both games stuck on one land, which I'm not saying is his mistake. I'm not saying it's a mistake for him to... Yeah, we're just going to play Seagate Oracle here. I'm not saying it's a mistake for him to keep that hand. There's probably a lot of really good hands to keep. Yeah, well, this Spreading Seas, I mean, might end up just being game over. So we'll take it. It's probably a keepable hand that he has. It's just working out for us very well that he isn't finding that second land in time. Okay, so obviously we're going to play the tower. We're going to Prism and Spreading Seas. And then if he does... He can't find... Okay, he already conceded. He saw that we assembled Tron, and that was enough for him. So, yeah, that was really cool. He saw that we assembled Tron, and he didn't feel like he could win being stuck on one land. We were about to Spreading Seas his mountain away, and the thing I was going to say is he can't draw a 1-drop and a mountain on his next turn. So it was pretty likely that he wasn't going to be able to cast anything on that subsequent turn. Though he could have had another 1-drop in hand, found a mountain and cast it. But we would have ended up casting Spreading Seas, and I think either... Yeah, probably just leaving up the Hydroblast because we have the Oracle on the board. Or did he burn it? I guess he burned it. I mean, we don't have the board in... we don't have the board in front of us to really tell. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back for more. Okay, guys, we are watching a replay of round number 2. So apologies in advance. Something went wrong with recording. I think I just forgot to hit the record button when I played this match. But just as a quick refresher, we're here playing Mono Blue Tron in the 2-man queues of Pauper. We're on the play, and we took a mulligan to 6. We had a no-land hand, and we've got another no-land hand, so we obviously are just going to mulligan that, if I can get to it. And as you can see, this hand's pretty keepable here, so we end up holding on to this, and we're going to see if we're scrying on the top. We end up scrying this Prophetic Prism down to the bottom, and the reason for that is it makes the scry off my Preordain a little bit more effective, and instead of casting the Prism and drawing a card deeper, we actually just see a card deeper naturally by scrying this to the bottom. So we bottom it, we're going to play the island, and we don't know what our opponent is, but we're going to Preordain anyway because our mana and our cards are so limited that if we draw a 1 or 2 drop next turn, we're going to be wasting mana on average by not casting this Preordain. So the capsize is so far away from being cast that we bottom it, and I'm not sure if we keep the island or not. I believe we do because we want to walk our way up to Serrated Arrows. So I believe we do keep it. Yeah, you see we just drew it, so, and kind of go from there. Our opponent ends up being playing a mountain, obviously, and as you can see here, they're a mono red burn deck with Rift Bolt. So this is kind of a difficult game 1 matchup. We do have our negate in hand, but a lot of these creature removal spells that we have in hand and just naturally have in our deck, they are pretty dead, and we choose to negate the Rift Bolt. So a common philosophy that I maintain when playing against burn is just counter the burn spell that they point at you. Play against what they have and don't get too tied up in what they might have. We know that Rift Bolt's coming at us. We don't know if the opponent's going to play any other spells this turn. So we want to cast this negate. There's a chance we draw a 3-drop next turn or another permission spell. So if that's the case, then ostensibly we've just wasted our turn by not casting the negate and ate 3 damage for no reason. There's a number of other reasons that you should just counter the burn spell they point at you, but for the sake of brevity, I believe is the word, we're going to just move on. So here I choose to actually cast the Curse of Chains instead of the Sensory Deprivation. That's because I have no other plays to make this turn. So the Curse of Chains uses up the most mana. I might as well just use up that 2 mana now in case perhaps next turn he plays another Marauders and I draw a 2-drop. I can use the Sensory Deprivation and make another play. But since I have nothing else to do, I might as well just do the most expensive thing now. It might save me some mana later on. Opponent's just going to burn us up a bunch. And these game ones are pretty difficult. Just on the whole, we're not as tuned to assert a game plan against burn in game 2, but they're in game 1 rather, but they're perfectly set up to implement their game plan on game 1 because they have so much redundancy and just incredible threat density. Okay, so you see the Marauders dying and blah blah blah. He attacks us with the 0-3 Marauder, which does nothing. We just pass. This other Marauder dies, so we're taking damage here. And we just, again, counter what they definitely have. Don't worry too much about what they might have. He does incinerate us, but you really just can't win playing the cat and mouse game. If you just sit back, let stuff resolve, they can beat us every time with that because they know what they're holding and we don't. So they can just wait and wait and wait, and we might be playing around something they don't even have. So right now, though, there is a decent... We can make some fairly accurate assessments of what he has in hands. Now, one of the things that when you get into the late game and they're not using their mana, not the late game, but for burn, turn 8 is something of a late game for them. But what I'm saying is, later on, when they still have cards in hand, they haven't tapped their mana and just thrown everything at you, you can make a fairly safe assumption that he has Fire Blast in hand. I would also make a fairly safe assumption that he's got Searing Blaze because we've gone 8 turns without playing a creature, and they tend to play a high number of copies of Searing Blaze. It's a very effective spell. Last turn, you'll notice we played Serrated Arrows because we didn't have anything to do. Again, we don't want to just give away our free mana. We'll play the Serrated Arrows. If for some reason he plays another Marauders, that's just one extra turn that we get to activate our arrows against it. Also, sometimes they play Spark Elemental or Kiln Fiend and stuff, or Goblin Fire Slinger. So just get this down on the board. Use your mana. You don't need to sit and bluff something that you don't actually have. You want to play a realistic game against burn. Play to the strengths of what you have. Don't try and bluff with them. Again, they're going to win that game every time because they're going to make you have it. They can't afford to get too cerebral on you. They're going to make you have it. So here our best play is to try and get back one of our counter spells, and unfortunately he just has the burn already. He's got the Fire Blast, as I mentioned. I would not be surprised if that last remaining card in his hand is Searing Blaze or perhaps another Fire Blast. Alright, so that's game number 1. So here I guess what I'll do is go to my collection real quick. I'll show you how I sideboarded in this particular matchup. So bear with me while I get this all set up here. Try and make things a little more aesthetically pleasing for you guys. So let's move this out of the way. Kind of give a bit more space here, and sort things in a little bit more of a palatable sense. So, couple things about this matchup. Mana efficiency is huge, and early game is huge. So, and then a third factor is that creature removal is not as important as stack removal or burn spell removal. So, expensive. Well, oops, I guess I shouldn't do that, right? Just already screwing up my deck list here. Expensive creature removal is even worse. And then something like Ulamog's Crusher, very expensive. probably not going to do it. Anyway, just to kind of speed things along, it's safe to say we're probably moving some of these cards out. We have sensory deprivation. It's already a cheap way to answer Keldon Marauders, though I don't think I bring in the third one. Hydroblast, clearly one of our strongest cards in the matchup. Cheap, efficient, counters burn spells, kills permanents. It's everything you want. We also play Spreading Seas against them. They play very few lands, so there are games where you can cut down their mana production extremely at a very devastating rate. But this is also a way of cutting the clock down. So think of in terms of a match against a creature-dense deck, a creature-dense strategy. When you kill half of their creatures, you cut their clock in half. It takes them twice as long to kill you, right? When you play against a burn deck, if you can take out half of their mana sources, you're also cutting the clock in half, because that's half of the amount of mana they can spend per turn on their burn spells. So this is a way to slow them down. If they have 2 lands in play and you Spreading Seas one of them, they're half as fast as they used to be. Okay? Hope that makes sense. So aside from that, we're at now 59 cards. The last thing I brought in was 1 copy of Leave No Trace, and this is a way to potentially kill a Curse of the Pierced Heart. So this is what my sideboarding looked like for game 2. Okay, we keep all the permission in because that is some of our best defense against a burn deck, and we cut more of our expensive creature removal and our arguably most expensive spell in the deck, our 8 mana 8/8, so that we can interact with the opponent and not die. Stage 1 is where we have to be against burn. Stage 1, if you don't know, is the first stage of the game, the early game. Alright, so now let's go back and let's watch game 2 and get this over with. Okay, so we're now in game 2. We're going to be on the play. I think I have to... Okay. Not the best at getting replays to go, so clearly we're going to play first. This is our hand. This hand is very solid, so we're going to keep it. As you can see, we have 2 pieces of interaction. We have 2 lands. We have a cantrip that's also going to find us more lands. So definitely keeping this hand. And we're on the play, so we just leave up Hydroblast. I believe he starts with Lava Spike, but it's been a while since this match actually happened, so I don't know. Yeah, or not Lava Spike, sorry, Rift Bolt. That's what I meant. You'll just have to take my word for it. That is what I meant. Okay, so here I choose to play Expedition Map and leave up the Hydroblast. This is for optimum mana efficiency. Any aggressive deck, including Burn, is going to fight you on the axis of mana efficiency. That's why their curve is so low every single time. They're trying to do as much as they can early on with as little mana as possible. So we counter the Rift Bolt. Again, counter the burn spell that they point at you. And then here comes Thermo Alchemist. So this is the thing that's going to absolutely destroy us. This is a new card from Eldritch Moon. It's a creature permanent that we have very few ways of actually removing. All of our removal, for the most part, is stuff that either taps you down or lowers your power, and it doesn't just take you off the board. As you can see, this guy's got an activated ability that doesn't care about being tapped down, because you can untap it with instants and sorceries. So this is basically the perfect threat against our deck. We just used one of our 3 Hydroblasts, so we're going to need to draw more to even get it off of the table. But it's going to be such a force multiplier. It's going to actively enhance all of the damage that these burn spells do. Every Lightning Bolt and Lava Spike's now going to deal 4 effectively. So here we just pass. We're leaving up Expedition Map and Negate, and so we end up negating the Needle Drop. But he gets to untap his Thermo Alchemist and basically do it all over again. Rinse, wash, repeat. Here we're going to thin a land from our deck, get closer to Tron, because Tron is one of the only ways we can win from this position. And then we're also going to cantrip with the Prophetic Prism. Again, no reason to bluff something we don't have. Play a realistic game. Play to the strengths of what you do have and play against what the opponent does have. Not what you're bluffing that you might have or what the opponent might have. Anyway, we're getting destroyed here. It doesn't matter. Despite all of our best efforts, our opponent has 3 permanents that can only be answered in our deck basically by Hydroblast. So all I can do here is try and dig to Hydroblast as best as I can, or dig to a Tron piece. We find neither, so I end up just taking Seagate Oracle. We're too far behind to sit back on Condescend and try and make something happen. We have to make something happen right now. And in fact, we're at such a low life total, the opponent basically has us down to 7 at the very least, just by the virtue of these 2 being activated and this triggering on our upkeep. So we're probably not even making it past the next turn. If we do, we want to be set up as best we can to try and stop that. So here, between Piracy Charm and Prohibit, we're going to take the Prohibit, but we're not going to be happy about it. We're just in real dire straits, and as you're going to see, the opponent's already got it all figured out. He's got way too much burn. He's only played 2 lands, so he's very spell dense, and this is just going to completely destroy us. These Alchemists together dealt 4 damage, and they're going to deal even more. And we say our GG's because I can tell he's going to take me out. And Thermo Alchemists, you guys, often asking about new cards and stuff. Well, you're getting to see one in action here. And this was, like I said, I think this is the perfect threat for beating our deck. I don't know how good of a threat it is against other decks. Most other decks have creature removal that will actually take this off the board and deal with it. But it just so works out that our deck doesn't. So that's a bit of a possible design flaw or decision-making flaw in choosing a deck like Mono Blue Tron, is that your creature removal is sensory deprivation. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching. Please do stick around for game number 3. That's it for this one. Alright, we're back. Pauper, we're back. We're back for Pauper. We are on the draw, keeping this hand. Opponents keeping their hand. Good luck to them. Good luck to us. It's a Tron mirror match. Good luck to us all. God help us. Make peace with whatever deity you believe in. So I guess we'll start with this, actually. This just gets us a little closer to winning the Tron race. So I think that's actually how we want to start off. Maybe the opponent will concede the whole match. I assume that they're playing the Drake combo, which we foolishly are not, so I imagine they already have that leg up on us. So he might be more of a traditional Tron list. Our consistency of mana might be good for us. Let's leave up Condescend, Negate, and Expedition Map activation. And this type of removal, as janky as it looks, could be good for us. I think... I'm not sure. Do we care about Seagate Oracle? Maybe. I mean, I don't think we're going to get any closer to beating him with, or using this. I don't think we're going to have many great opportunities to leave up Condescend and be able to cast it. And I don't think we want either of these cards. So he's looking like he's on track to get way more mana than us. So let's try and find a Tron piece. This Ulamog's Crusher could actually win us the game if we do. That's not the Tron piece I'm talking about, but we're getting a land with map, and then next turn playing the other map. Alright, this might work for us. We might be able to crash this party here. Okay, so pretty much looking like Drake combo, which might actually just kill us next turn. Who knows? Okay, that resolves. We could be in for it, guys. I will pick up Urza's Mine and then play Expedition Map next turn, most likely. Probably save the narcolepsy for something if he's got big fat fatties. We might want to leave it up. Okay, so we want preordain. Negate might be okay for us. And I don't actually think we want either of these. I mean, they're nice to have. Maybe we should consider keeping them around, but I think next turn we're kind of just all in on playing Ulamog's Crusher and hoping that that's good enough. I mean, he could easily have 2 Flame Slashes or something for it, but we should at least give it a shot here. Okay, so let's see what happens. He's just going to attack first, ask questions later. So there's a chance that he's just leaving up counter magic. So I guess what we're going to end up doing is Mole Drifter with Negate backing it up. I think that's our plan. So yeah, let's do that first. See what happens. It just immediately resolves. Now the tricky thing here is I can't cast anything and leave up Negate for next turn. I think we're just going to be cool with that. So I think I'm going to just do my thing here. Yeah, I'll just play the map. And I won't F6, I'll leave the Piracy Charm in hand. I might actually throw it at his hand in a second. Okay. Yeah, I guess we can just do it now. We're gonna be doing this, so I'll do it before he sees extra cards. This might set him up for Crusher. Now, next turn we can Crusher with backup. We can protect it. I think we have a very strong chance of winning the game. Mnemonic Wall goes down. Cool. Yeah, I'm liking our chances, guys. 3 cards. I think he's screwed. Wow. What a turn of events. Yeah, let's just slam it down. We also can get Fengraph and have Negate. Wow, this is looking super. No sir. No sir. He might have more counters, but he let the Mole Drifter resolve. I don't think he would. Alright, I think we may have this. It's pretty sickening. We'll get Haunted Fengraph, and then, I mean, okay, now he might have Rolling Thunder in hand. We're still getting Haunted Fengraph, so that's good. He just has double Flame Slash. Okay. Okay. Well, if Fengraph hits Burst Lightning, if Fengraph hits Crusher, I think we just insta win. Yeah, it looks like it's Burst Lightning. Oh, Mnemonic Wall. Okay. That's why he pitched the first Mnemonic Wall. Uh-huh. Yep. Okay, so I'll just get Haunted Fengraph here, which I believe I put on the bottom earlier. I can't see it. Let's just make sure I 100% get it. I was almost positive that was it, but it would have been stupid to just make a mistake like that. So I really like our chances right now. If the Fengraph hits Crusher. If it just hits Mole Drifter, but we actually have a Mole Drifter in hand, so that's even awesome as well. Alright, baby. Alright, baby. Alright, baby. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, there it is. What's up? Yep. Sometimes you just run good. I think this should probably just grind him down into dust, but we'll see. So Seagate Oracle. Yeah. F6. Piracy Charm hitting that Mnemonic Wall was actually pretty good. So the first Crusher attack's not going to be too bad, but it's the ones following it up that will start to wear away. I mean, if he does find Rolling Thunder, I think he can keep things together for just a bit to get it to work, but let's attack him first before we do anything. I don't think we're going to use any of these curses or anything yet. Alright, so this is a bit of a mirror breaker. So he sacks both Seagate Oracles, and he's probably just taking the damage. Oh, he's gonna block. Oh, he's gonna Ghostly Flicker? No. So it's Pulse of Marasa is probably what's in his hand. So I think it's safe for us to cast this. And I played the Mine first because I want to have mana up for Condescend. Yeah, he's got Pulse in hand. Ooh, and we have Capsize. Is it better to play Oracle? It's probably better to Capsize, right? Yeah, it's gotta be better. Alright, so let's see if he's gonna cast Pulse. He's gonna cast Pulse. We probably want to hold it for his end step. Okay, Seagate Oracle, sure. Okay, because if we capsize it, he just replays it and he has all the access to mana. But if we do this, it's probably good for us, right? I mean, I don't know. Another Oracle, another Mole Drifter. Okay. So me personally, I pulse back wall back the pulse something else. I think that's your best value you can get. So he played his land. So that means we're gonna probably hit Urza's Mine and then hit Urza's Tower after that. Actually, if we're doing that, we should probably just aim for the tower now. And this should screw him over if it resolves. No guarantee that it will, but there's a chance that it will. So, yeah, cool. So we would have bounced the mine, attacked for 10, sacked 2 more things. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so a few things going on here. He does have some advantages over us. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I think some of this early game stuff like sensory deprivation, small creature kill is just not what we're looking for. We're looking for big creature kill, looking for disruption, and definitely some hydroblasts in here. Maybe all 3, but we also want some number of Fairy Macabre, Relic of Progenitus type of time. Probably just the 2 Fairy Macabres for now. Condescend I don't love because, you know, this is the one deck we could face that'll have more mana than us, besides something like Elves or some, you know, other degenerate stuff. 1 Fairy Macabre, I kind of want an extra one. I think 2's better than none. Maybe we'll cut a Seagate Oracle because we're really got this early cantrip stuff kind of going. So yeah, I think we're gonna do that. I mean, Relic would be okay, but this is an uncounterable Relic that we might be looking for here. Let's try this and we'll see how it goes. We still have all our late game. Spreading Seas early might be something good for us. He's gonna have stuff like Earth Rift, which is probably just way better. I think his sideboard is probably much better than ours, and we can keep this hand. But we'll see. Don't know what's gonna happen. He's got probably more creature removal than we do. Oh, there's a Spreading Seas. That's pretty good. We might just be casting that next turn. And I think I'm going to target the lesser... Oh, he's just leaving up counter magic. What a bastard. So I'll just leave up my expedition map for now. There's no rush. Okay, he's going to tab out for Seagate Oracle. Or not. Alright, so he's got Exclude now, maybe. So I'll start with a Mine. Okay, another map. So maybe I just lead with that. Maybe I just leave the map activation up and the Hydroblast. Yeah, it just resolves. Yeah, I think we'll just do that. We're doing stuff, he's not. He probably has Tron though, but he hasn't cast a spell yet, which is really good for us. He's just sitting around. He doesn't have another color. There it is. He's probably just casting Mole Drifter here. We're gonna hit one of these with Spreading Seas. And we'll get power plant. We don't want to hit the tower. Well, it doesn't. I don't think it actually matters that much. Oh, we have Tron also. So we can do a couple things, but I think I'll Spreading Seas first and then set up subsequent turns with Preordain. I think that's probably what we want to do. So this gives him double blue, but that's probably not that important. I don't think we need Hydroblast. There's a chance we want to leave it up, but I think we'll save it. Okay, Oracle and another land. I'll take the land, but probably not the Oracle. And this is just in case he blows up a land and we're needing to sit around. So now we just F6, yeah. So we could win this just off of mana advantage. Oh, he had a second mine, so there you have it. We actually gave him another blue source there. Okay, well, nothing we can really do about that. So he's gonna, what is this, capsize? Okay, main phase capsize. I guess I'm gonna leave up Ghostly Flicker to counter the capsize now, because he's really seems hell-bent on, not hell-bent, but he seems very interested in capsizing. So now what do I, this is a really tough call. Guess the Cursive Chains will go because our plan is to eventually block with Mole Drifter. Next turn, if he doesn't use Capsize right away, we have Tron so that we can Mole Drifter and Ghostly Flicker. So we can kill his Capsize here, is what it's looking like. So that'll be kind of cool. Okay, he found another blue source. He's going to just attack. Alright, so I'll go for the Mole Drifter. I think he's had Exclude for a while. Oh, he's going to Capsize now? Okay, that actually might be pretty good for him. But we get to kill the Capsize, I hope. So let's try it. I think if he did it on our upkeep, the plan for him is... Or nope, he's got a counter. Wow. We're probably screwed. Was that white mana? I think I saw white mana. No, Condescend for 3. Wow. No. No. Okay. Yeah, this game is looking bad now. Looking real bad now. So bottom. At least that's a thing. Alright, there's basically nothing we can do. That was our chance there, guys. Now we have Negate. Okay, so I guess we're trying it again. That's pretty much the best draw we could have found. Bottom for him. Finds another source that isn't blue. At least he doesn't have red. So that is one way we kind of are pulling ahead. And we're pulling ahead on time. So if this game somehow drags out really long, and so does the next game, we'll be happy. Okay, so he's going to do the same thing he did last time, but he might actually lose his Capsize now. I say he might. Not will, just might. But if he has another... Oh, shoot. Another counter, then we'll really get him. Wow, another one. What a bastard. Okay, well, now I think we're actually losing because we're basically stuck on 2 mana every turn. Wow, that sucks. And I'm sure he's eventually going to top some stuff. Bottom top. Yeah. Okay. You piece of scum. So actually we have 3 mana now. Oh, look. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Alright, so let's just play Seagate Oracle first. Try and find a counter that actually works. We don't have many. We have... Oh, I have to keep one of these? Okay, I guess of the 2, I'll keep that. The one that's kind of like a spell. Okay, so wait for him to target it. And at least now we kind of have a chance, right? So I have them both targeted. Okay, cool. So that can't be countered. We'll just do it because we kind of have to. What are we going to do? Sit around and let Mnemonic Wall get free counter spells? I don't think so. So he just played a 5 mana 0/4, I guess. But we are getting capsized. We're probably losing the war here. Oh, was he going to give us a reprieve? No. Just capsize. Okay. So I could put Narcolepsy on Mold Drifter, but really doesn't do all that much. He can just capsize it back. I may end up doing it anyway. Let's go ahead. And I could also just find Spreading Seas number 2. And that would kind of choke him up a bit. But for now, let's do this. And maybe it coerces him or coaxes him into leaving my lands alone for one turn. It's kind of my only hope right now. So then I can get Tron and maybe make something happen. Okay. So that really only targets one thing in our deck, which is our Singleton Mnemonic Wall. And the hell is this? Another capsize. Okay. Guess technically you can capsize Spreading Seas also. Well, I think we just gotta evoke Mold Drifter at this point. And probably discard some stuff. Or we're just gonna counter it. Alright. Another Condescend. Jeez. That's really weird to bring in Condescend against another Tron deck. They could end up being very dead in my estimation. And I would consider a concession, but I really think that draining his time away is pretty viable and something we want to be doing. So we do have Hydroblast. We're ahead by 4 minutes, which is considerable. I mean, say what you will about Tron, but one thing you could potentially say about the deck is that it kills slowly. Okay. I mean, even that, it's keeping us down, but it's not murdering us. Yeah, I guess we're just casting this now. We have to keep doing stuff. Man, is he just all counter spells? He's got to be a bunch of red spells. No? Okay, no. Wait, why does he only have one exiled Condescend? Wait. Wait a minute. Didn't we exile 2 Condescends? Where are they? And he... Am I losing my mind? I could have swore we exiled 2 copies of Condescend. And he cast 2 copies of Condescend. There's only 1 in exile, first of all. Which means he's somehow drawn all of them? Or was there... I just don't understand. Is there a bug that he got back the Condescend with Mnemonic Wall anyway? Trying to find this. Okay, discards Fairy Macabre. John, look at this. You guys see this? This is a bug that I'm going to have to report. John Bowley. Oh, where is it? I can't see it anymore. Okay, Bamboo Rush discards Fairy Macabre. activates targeting Condescend. John Bolle returns Condescend to its owner's hand with Mnemonic Wall. And you saw I targeted both Condescends. That is so weird. He's going to bolt his own... Okay, fine. I'm not going to counter that. If he has Pulse, he has Pulse, but... So, unless I misclicked, which I don't think I did, I will review this. I think we just found a bug. And we're basically out of this game. Our hand is now all lands, so... Wow. How does that work? So he's drawn 3 Condescends. Only one of them got exiled. I waited for Mnemonic Wall to target the Condescend, but that doesn't matter. The activated ability of Macabre resolves first before his enters the battlefield trigger resolves. This is so strange. So that's just a bug that he's taking advantage of here. We should probably be reimbursed for that. But if the other thing is, if we win the match anyway, then I guess there's nothing to complain about, though I should report the bug just to let them know about it in case they don't. Yeah, I'll just not attack. Start pitching islands. Alright, found a second red source, so here we go. Our hope right now is that we find another negate, and that his only answer to our negate is a Pyroblast, and we can Hydroblast the Pyroblast, and then maybe we can start doing something. But for now, yeah, I think there's a decent chance of him timing out in game 3. Gotta stay optimistic, guys. Alright, we'll cast this. Wow, so we kind of got screwed over there. One of those Condescends wouldn't have resolved. That doesn't mean we would have been in that much better of a position, but we wouldn't be in as bad of a position. We would have gotten through this flood faster. A whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, so I'll just do this. I guess I'll get a Haunted Fen graph. Just because. Are we now in the world of double capsize? Doesn't look like it. But all this stuff is in a way good for us because his clock is draining. Down the drain, baby. Yeah, that resolves. Okay, so how long did this game take him to complete? I think it took him about 5 or 6 minutes, maybe a little more. So that might be enough to basically, that might be enough basically to, oh, I played the wrong Tron land. That was stupid. That might be enough basically to get him flustered and a little panicky. I played the wrong Tron land. That was really bad. Doesn't actually matter too much. We're on a 2-turn clock, so not a lot gonna... Really 1 turn, I guess I should say. Really not a lot to care about. I don't want to F6 because I do want to try and counter the Rolling Thunder if he plays it. He just got Tron too quickly. When we had Spreading Seas, he actually had a second Urza's Mine, so now I pitch. It doesn't really matter. Guess I'll pitch Urza's Mine because I have 3. I don't know why he's doing this. Just trying to end the game faster, I guess. This is actually taking more time off the clock. Now I don't have to discard, but really he's got the kill in the air, so. Alright. If this will come up. Just F6, Jason. Okay. So, 9.5 minutes to win. All he has to do is F6 here. Guess I'll turn off auto yields in case he's going to do something and I can take up more time. I just really want to make sure this is not me. Okay. Right, it is not me. Okay, so 9 minutes, 20 seconds. And we also could just potentially win. Condescend, I don't think is the best choice. Maybe on the play it's alright. I think we just... And I was really bummed out that this didn't work. That was kind of stupid. I think we're just going to leave it like this. I don't really know. I mean, the Condescend is weird. The 4th Seagate Oracle. Those are things, how do you even decide how useful those are? We don't have a lot of counter magic, which might get us in a bind here. Alright, so we have Tron on turn 3. It seems like that is basically our criteria to keep this. And we have Spreading Seas. And we have the blue source, so... We just really don't want to get the Prism countered, so... It looks like he's debating what he should do. He ends up keeping. The thing with us is we don't want to just play Prism at a point where it can get countered. But the only counters we've seen from him are Condescends. So, I mean, basically. So I think we can actually Urza's Tower, just pass, get our piece, and we can get around Condescend pretty easily. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. I mean, and if we have to, we can Expedition map for an island. So we'll get Power Plant. Try and do our thing here. Play the Power Plant. We can do a couple things. We can Spreading Seas and map for the next piece. Alright, so that actually resolved. Yeah, I think we'll just do it now. Get the show rolling. And now I just think we get backup pieces. So I'll get a backup tower. Oh man, this is sick. Alright, so we're way far ahead. It's kind of the luck of the draw here. And since we have the mana, we'll sack it. And like I said, I'll get a backup tower. Maybe I'll just get a Haunted Fen Graph in case he counters something. Okay, he's got a redundant piece, but it still puts him pretty far away. Alright, and he's tapping low. Okay, so yeah, we're getting kind of carte blanche here to do whatever we like. Should be pretty great for us. So I think we lead Mole Drifter. He's got a discard. Yeah, let's lead Mole Drifter, and then we can... That optimizes our preordain to set up our next turn, because we have more information. Ooh, my lord. This game's about to be over, kids. Alright, so basically we want to find something to protect the Ulamog's Crusher with. I mean, we do have Haunted Fen Graph, so... Yeah, so I think we just keep both of these. They both protect the Ulamog's Crusher. And he's dead. I think I should still report the bug when I get a chance. And he's got 2 blue sources. I guess it's not going to matter. So, yeah, I can't see him winning. And we can't leave up both Negate and Ghostly Flicker, but that's okay. So anyway, guys, I think I should probably still report the bug. Have you guys seen this bug before? It's kind of bewildering to me. Now, the game's not over. There's definitely a lot of things he could do to... Okay, so that means we are going to resolve Ulamog's Crusher. So let's just do that. This is really a Mirror Breaker card. This card is real nasty. I mean, it's going to resolve, so he doesn't have a lot he can do to stop it here. This might just be game. He can try for a capsize without buyback. If he has his tower, then he can maybe do something. Impulse. I'll let it resolve because it doesn't affect our Ulamog's Crusher. He should not have tapped Swiftwater Cliffs because, I mean, at least it just gives him more flexibility. Maybe he can double burn spell it, but not if you tap one of your red sources. He's looking for his Tron piece. Yeah, this is pretty bad for him. So what is this? Yeah, I don't need to negate that. I don't think. Alright, so let's attack first, and then we'll make some decisions here. We're fairly safe if we just leave up Negate and Ghostly Flicker. But I can also play Mnemonic Wall to do that. It's not an either or situation here. But playing the Mnemonic Wall rather than just casting Preordain doesn't really accomplish much. So let's just cast Preordain. Find an island. That gives us access to all three of these. I think I'll just leave up Haunted Fengraf instead. And he is way up against the wall. Yeah, that actually resolves. That's one of the things that does resolve. His back is so far up against the wall, he's basically going through it. Fengraf of his own. That's probably not going to be very consequential. So let's go. I think we can just get the Muldrifter and be fine with that. I don't think we have to be all in on Ulamog's Crusher. It's doing enough damage to him that we're okay. Having it die at some point, even though I don't think even that will happen. Okay, so he sacked that, right? He still has his 2 Tron pieces, but I mean, man, this is really brutal. Yeah, we'll cast the Muldrifter. We don't need to do any shenanigans with Flicker. We have so many cards in hand, that's not going to really do too much for us. 'Cause at the end of the day, we're going to have to just discard a bunch anyway. Do I just play Urza's Mine? Sure. I don't actually think it matters. And we'll just pitch Island, I guess. It really doesn't matter. I'm not sure. Maybe it does, but yeah. So we end up winning that match, which is good for us. But that bug is really confusing me. Maybe I misclicked. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I tried to exile both Condescends. I think what happened is they both went into exile. And while one of them was in exile, it still recognized itself as being targeted by Mnemonic Wall and just went back to his hand regardless. You guys let me know if you have any thoughts on it, but thanks for watching the match, and thank you very much for tuning in to this installment of that's right, Dime a Dozen.